Welcome to another deep dive with us. And today we're going to be looking at Bob Mortimer's memoir, And Away.
The comedian,
Yes.
Bob Mortimer.
Yeah.
Very funny guy.
He says up front only 90% of it is actually true.
Yeah, he's very upfront about that.
Right.
I think that kind of sets the tone for the whole book, really.
And that's sort of the fun of it as well.
Yeah,
So we're going to dive into this book and see what we can learn about this really fascinating guy.
absolutely.
So Bob Mortimer was born in Middlesbrough, England in 1959.
Youngest of 4 boys.
Youngest of 4 boys. I
Yeah.
mean, can you
I
imagine?
can only imagine the chaos.
Oh, the chaos in that house.
Yeah.
And he talks about his childhood, playing these games out in the neighborhood, and kind of making weapons out of anything they could find.
Yeah, like founded objects.
Right.
Bits of junk.
Yeah. And there's this real yearning for connection, even in these really kind of rough and tumble games.
Yeah, there's a tenderness that runs throughout the book, even in these kind of more boisterous stories.
Right. And you can already see in these early stories these glimpses of the comedic personality that he'd become known for.
Yep, absolutely.
He talks about showing off his underwear at school for attention,
Is it cool?
or the time that he, quote unquote, cured a classmate's cyst
By squeezing it.
by squeezing it.
Lovely.
Right.
A natural healer.
So there's this primal urge to entertain, even if it means getting in trouble.
Yeah, or causing a bit of discomfort.
Now, one of the things that really stuck out to me were these very, very specific descriptions
Oh, yeah.
of his family.
Particularly the orange.
The orange obsession of his mother.
His mother loved orange.
Yeah.
She decorated the whole house in orange.
Like everything was orange.
Apparently everything was orange. Yeah.
So what do you make of that? I mean, do you think it speaks to like a slightly offbeat upbringing?
I think it certainly speaks to a certain eccentricity.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that she decorated the whole house orange, that's just so wonderfully bizarre.
Yeah, it's not just a splash of orange here or there.
It's not a feature wall. It's a whole house.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if that kind of environment, fostered his appreciation for the absurd.
It's got to have had some impact.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point.
And then there's his father who taught him wrestling moves and let him practice on him.
Yeah. A bit of rough and tumble.
Right.
Classic father-son bonding.
Which is sweet on the one hand.
Yeah.
But also I wonder, if that planted the seeds for his very physical style of comedy later on.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can see the roots of that kind of knockabout humor.
And it wasn't all sunshine and roses either.
No.
He talks about this incident with his brother Sam where they were headbanging
Oh.
to Black Sabbath. And they actually crashed heads.
No.
And it's funny, but it's also kind of disturbing.
A little bit. Yeah.
Right. And it kind of hints at a slightly rough and tumble dynamic in the family.
A bit of a chaotic energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the Christmas present that only a mother could love.
Go on.
A Pifco steam blackhead remover.
Oh, no.
For a 10-year-old.
For a 10-year-old boy.
I mean...
Not exactly the most exciting gift.
No.
Is it?
No, not at all.
What 10-year-old wants a steam blackhead remover?
And I think it just speaks volumes about his mother's unique perspective.
Let's see.
Right.
Unique perspective on the world.
And it also sets the stage for this running theme throughout the book, which is this humor of unexpected and often cringeworthy situations.
Yeah, the awkward and the embarrassing. He really revels in that.
Right.
Yeah.
So moving into his teenage years, things really start to ramp up.
As they do.
As they do.
Yeah.
We're introduced to the world of suede heads.
Ah, the suede heads.
Which,
For those unfamiliar,
yeah.
were a British subculture in the 70s.
Yeah.
Known for their very sharp style and their love of soul music.
Yeah. So he talks about hanging out at the Chippy.
The Chippy, of course.
Yes.
Which is British slang for fish and chip shop.
For anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And getting into all sorts of mischief, like stealing beer barrels in the snow.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like this classic coming-of-age story.
It is.
But with a very British working-class twist.
Yes, a very specific kind of coming-of-age story.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start to see Mortimer finding his tribe.
Yeah, his people.
Right.
Finding where he belongs.
And it reminds us that even the most outrageous antics are often rooted in this desire for connection.
Absolutely.
But it's not all hijinks and fun. There
Yeah.
are these moments of real poignancy.
Yeah, he's got a real capacity for pathos as well.
Yes, and one that really stuck out was his encounter with this lonely, injured man on Christmas Eve who he called Mr. Goblin Meat Pie.
Oh, wow.
It's a story that clearly still haunts him to this day.
Yeah, you can feel the weight of that story.
Right, and I think it really showcases his range as a storyteller. He
That's
can make you laugh out loud 1 minute and then really touch your heart the next.
Yeah, he's got a real gift for that, moving between those two extremes.
His teenage years also mark the end of his dream of becoming a professional football player.
Oh.
It's a bittersweet story of rejection.
Yeah.
But he finds solace in a really unexpected place, spending time with his grandmother, who was living in a mental asylum at the time.
Wow.
So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. How do you think this experience might have shaped his perspective?
It's hard to say for sure,
Right.
but I do think it speaks to his ability to find humor and connection in even the most challenging circumstances.
Yeah.
Like, to find comfort and amusement in visiting his grandmother in that setting suggests a certain resilience
Yeah.
and an openness to experiences outside the norm.
Right. And that kind of leads us into early adulthood for Bob Mortimer.
Yeah, where the misadventures continue,
They do.
but they take on a bit of a different flavor.
Right. He's grappling with social anxiety at university.
Yeah, he talks about taking refuge in his room.
Yes, with a TV and a cassette player.
Yeah.
He talks about this bad LSD experience, which really solidified his aversion to drugs.
He wasn't a fan.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's trying to find his place in the world,
Yeah.
but struggling to fit in.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling,
Absolutely.
that sense of not quite belonging.
And then there are these failed business ventures with his friend Cagsy.
Oh, yeah, B&M decorators.
Read them decorators.
Marked by a blowtorch incident and a hasty retreat.
Not quite cut out for the business world, it seems.
Maybe not.
What's interesting, though, is that even in these failures, he finds humor.
He really does.
Right. He doesn't dwell on the setbacks, but he embraces them as part of his story.
Yeah, it's that resilience again.
Right.
That ability to laugh at himself.
Yeah.
Even when things go wrong.
And that leads us to law school, which he describes as the unhappiest 3 years of his life.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
So not a good time.
What do you make of his decision to pursue law after struggling so much at university?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if he was maybe searching for something stable and respectable.
Right. Maybe trying to live up to some kind of expectation.
Yeah, either societal expectations
Right.
or maybe even his own internal pressures.
But even in that very serious environment,
Yeah, the hallowed halls of law school.
he finds the absurd.
He can't help himself, can he?
He talks about encountering a bath-loving client, an axe-wielding private investigator, and even staging a courtroom disappearance act.
It sounds like something straight out of one of his sketches.
I know, it's like he can't help but find humor in even the most mundane or unexpected situations.
I think he's just wired that way,
Right.
to see the funny side of things.
And it's during this period that he discovers the alternative comedy scene
Ah, yes.
and finds inspiration in Vic Reeves' Big Night Out.
Talk about a pivotal moment.
Like a light bulb went off.
Yeah, he finally found his people,
Yeah.
his tribe.
And it's fascinating how he goes from this shy, socially anxious guy to summoning the courage to perform on stage.
These guts
It really does.
to put yourself out there like that.
And it's in those early cameos developing characters like the man with the stick that the foundation for his comedic partnership with Vic Reeves is laid.
Yeah, they really hit it off, didn't they?
It's like the stars aligned to bring them together.
It seems that way.
What do you think made their collaboration so unique? Why did it resonate with audiences so much?
Well, I think it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
Vic's surreal and absurdist humor blended perfectly with Mortimer's physical comedy
Right.
and quick wit.
Yeah.
They had this incredible chemistry, this shared sense of playfulness and a willingness to push boundaries.
Yeah, they weren't afraid to be silly, to embrace the awkwardness.
And that's what made them so refreshing and relatable.
Right, because they weren't trying to be cool or sophisticated.
No, they were just being themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what people loved about them.
Their partnership is pure magic.
It really is.
Yeah. The way they play off each other, the unscripted brilliance, the willingness to break the fourth wall and embrace that kind of rough around the edges style.
Yeah, it's like they're making it up as they go along.
Right.
And it's just brilliant.
It's unlike anything else out there.
It really is unique.
And it's a testament to the power of finding the right creative partner.
Absolutely.
They complement each other perfectly.
Yeah, they amplify each other's strengths
Right.
and create something truly unique.
And then their TV career is just legendary.
Oh, yeah.
Shooting Stars, House of Fools, Catterick, each show a testament to their very unique brand of humor.
They weren't afraid to experiment, were they?
No.
They were always trying new things, pushing the boundaries of what comedy could be.
Right? And what's remarkable is how they managed to sustain that level of creativity and originality across so many different projects.
They never seem to run out of ideas.
Yeah, their humor defies categorization.
It's unpredictable, chaotic, utterly captivating.
And of course, we can't forget Would I Lie to You,
Yeah.
which is still going strong after all these years.
A testament to its brilliance.
It's a format that allows for both spontaneity and clever writing.
Yeah, they've mastered it.
And what's fascinating about that show is it highlights not just their comedic timing, but
Yeah.
also their ability to think on their feet and spin a good yarn.
Yeah, they're master storytellers.
Yeah.
They can make the most mundane anecdote sound hilarious.
But even with all this success, Mortimer doesn't shy away from discussing the challenges.
No.
Like his struggle to tap into emotional depth while acting in Randall and Hopkirk, Deceased.
It's a different kind of skill, isn't it? Acting compared to comedy.
Or the hilarious suckers off incident on the set of Spaced.
Oh, yes.
He doesn't shy away from these less glamorous aspects of his journey.
I think that's important, isn't it?
It is.
To show that it's not all glitz and glamour.
Right.
That there are struggles and setbacks along the way.
It's refreshing to hear him acknowledge those vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it makes him even more relatable. Humanizes his comedic persona.
And speaking of humanizing, his memoir delves into his personal life as well.
Yes, he talks about his deep bond with his mother,
Yeah.
his relationships.
Finding lasting happiness with his wife, Lisa.
Yeah.
And there's this real sense of vulnerability in those passages, a willingness to open up about those complex emotions.
It's quite touching, really.
It is.
See that side of him.
What strikes me is the honesty with which he writes about his personal life.
Yeah.
He doesn't sugarcoat anything.
No.
He shares his struggles, his regrets, his triumphs with equal candor.
It's a reminder that behind the larger-than-life persona,
Yeah.
there's a real person.
With real feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not all heavy stuff either.
No.
He talks about finding solace in fishing,
Yeah, his beloved fishing.
sharing trips with his friend Paul,
Yeah.
which ultimately led to the creation of their heartwarming TV show, Gone Fishing.
A lovely show.
Very gentle.
It's a beautiful example of how life experiences can inspire these creative endeavors.
And that show has resonated with so many people
Yeah.
because it showcases a different side of Mortimer,
Yeah.
its contemplative, nature-loving side.
A bit more introspective.
And I think that's where we're going to pause
Okay.
for part one of this deep dive.
That was good.
We've covered a lot of ground, from his mischievous childhood
Yeah.
to his forays into various careers,
Quite a journey so far.
and ultimately his breakthrough in the world of comedy.
Yeah, he's come a long way.
So stay tuned.
Yes.
Because in part two of our deep dive into Bob Mortimer's And Away, we'll pick up the thread of his story, exploring his enduring comedic partnership with Vic Reeves, and delving deeper into his personal reflections on life, love, and the pursuit of joy.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how these early experiences with failure and even discomfort almost seem to fuel his comedic approach.
Yeah, like those awkward moments, those times when things went hilariously wrong, they almost become the building blocks of his comedic DNA.
Exactly. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most endearing aspects of the book, which is his willingness to be vulnerable, to share his insecurities and anxieties.
Right.
He talks about his very deep bond with his mother,
Yeah.
which is marked by love, but also this lingering guilt from some of his childhood actions.
Yeah, he tells that story about throwing a can of beans at his mother's head as a child.
Oh, yeah.
And an act that he obviously clearly regrets.
Yeah, and it speaks to the complexity of their relationship.
Yeah, it's a reminder that, even those we love most can be the unintentional targets of our youthful misbehavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And his honesty in sharing these less than flattering moments, I think it adds a layer of depth and humanity to the whole story.
Right, and he also talks about his romantic relationships, talks about past love's heartbreak, and ultimately finding lasting happiness with his wife, Lisa.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense of tenderness in the way he writes about her, a deep appreciation for the stability and love that she brings to his life.
It's a lovely counterpoint to the often chaotic and absurd nature of his comedic persona. It shows that beneath the silliness and the slapstick, there's this yearning for genuine connection and emotional depth.
And let's not forget his passion for fishing.
Oh, yes.
More than just a hobby for him.
Yeah.
It's a source of solace, a way to connect with nature,
Right.
escape the pressures of his career. And he writes so beautifully about his fishing trips with his friend Paul, which eventually inspired their TV show, Gone Fishing.
It's a beautiful show.
It is.
Testament to the power of friendship and shared passions.
Yeah, and it's heartwarming to see these two middle-aged men bonding over their love of fishing, sharing stories and finding those moments of peace amidst the chaos of life.
And I think it's a side of Mortimer that a lot of people might not expect,
Right.
but it's very endearing.
It shows there's more to him than just this wacky comedian we see on stage or TV.
And what I find really interesting is how this quieter, more reflective side of Mortimer also informs his comedy.
Oh, how so?
There's a certain wisdom and melancholy that underlies his humor. It's like a recognition of the absurdity of life and the importance of cherishing these fleeting moments of joy.
He's almost saying, yes, life can be messy and unpredictable,
Yeah,
but let's embrace the absurdity
Yeah.
and find humor in the unexpected.
exactly. And I think that's what makes his work so universally appealing.
Right.
He's not afraid to show his flaws, to poke fun at himself, to acknowledge the fragility of life.
And it's a reminder that we're all in this together, right? Navigating the ups and downs with a mix of laughter and tears.
Absolutely.
So as we kind of approach the end of our deep dive into Bob Mortimer's In a Way, I'm curious to hear your final thoughts.
Okay.
What are some of the key takeaways that resonated with you?
I think what struck me most was the power of storytelling.
Okay.
Mortimer's ability to weave together these seemingly disparate threads.
Right.
The outrageous anecdotes, the moments of vulnerability, the reflections on love and loss.
Yeah.
It creates this tapestry that is both hilarious and deeply moving.
I completely agree. It's not just a collection of funny stories. It's a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
It's a meditation on the human condition, and it's a celebration of the absurdity of life.
And it leaves you with a sense of optimism,
Right.
a belief that even amidst the chaos, there is beauty to be found in the unexpected.
Yeah.
And that humor can be such a powerful tool
Yeah.
for coping with life's challenges.
So on that note, let's leave our listeners with some food for thought.
Okay, I like it.
What is it about stories of misadventure and awkwardness that we find so universally appealing? How does Mortimer's willingness to embrace vulnerability contribute to his comedic genius?
Yeah, good question.
And perhaps most importantly, what can we learn from Mortimer's journey about finding joy and connection in unexpected places?
Lots to ponder there.
These are questions worth pondering as you continue to explore the wonderfully weird world of Bob Mortimer. It's amazing how Mortimer manages to find humor in some of the most unexpected places.
Yeah, like what, for example?
Well, like his description of trying to build a duck house, which ends with him falling into a pond and getting stuck in the mud.
Oh, bless him. It's classic Mortimer.
It is classic Mortimer, isn't it?
Physical comedy at its best.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can practically see him flailing around in the mud, covered in duckweed.
It's like a scene straight out of one of his sketches.
I know, and it's not just physical humor either.
No.
He's got this knack for wordplay and creating these wonderfully bizarre characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like the man with the stick.
The Man with the Stick, a classic.
Or that unforgettable head-banging lawyer on Shooting Stars.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Judge Nutmeg.
Judge Nutmeg, what a character.
I mean, his ability to just fully commit to these absurd personas, no matter how outlandish.
Yeah, he goes all in, doesn't he?
He's not afraid to look ridiculous.
And that's what makes it so funny.
And I think that fearlessness is what really resonates with audiences.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not trying to be cool or sophisticated.
Yeah.
He's just being himself.
Just embracing the absurdity of it all. And that authenticity shines through in his writing as well. He doesn't shy away from discussing his struggles with social anxiety
Yeah.
or the challenges of fame.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
It is.
To see that vulnerability.
He even talks about his experience with heart surgery, finding humor in that situation.
It's amazing that he can find light even in the darkest of times.
It is, and it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's a reminder that humor can be such a powerful coping mechanism.
Right.
A way to process difficult emotions and find joy even when things are tough.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Bob Mortimer,
Yeah.
I hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for his unique comedic genius
Absolutely.
and his wonderfully unconventional approach to life.
He's one of a kind, isn't he?
If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to check out his work.
Yeah.
Whether it's his memoir, his TV shows, or his stand-up routines.
There's something for everyone.
And remember, life is a journey filled with unexpected twists and turns.
It certainly is.
Embrace the absurdity.
Yeah.
Find joy in the simple things, and never be afraid to laugh at yourself along the way.
Sound advice.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep laughing, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.